Hello students, we resume our revision of metallurgy. In this part, we are going to discuss metallurgy, its introduction and concentration of ores. Here are some of the important definitions of metallurgy. The science and technology regarding the extraction of metals from ores and their purification for the use is called metallurgy. Next is minerals. The compounds of metals such as oxides, carbonates, sulfides, and nitrates that occur in nature along with the impurities are called minerals. Next is ores. The minerals from which the metal can be separated economically are called ores. Next is gangue. Ores contain many types of impurities such as soil, sand, and rocky substances, along with the metal compounds. These impurities are called gangue. There are certain basic principles of metallurgy. First is concentration of ores, extraction of metals, in the end, refining of metals. After these three steps are carried out, pure metals or metals in the pure form are obtained from their ores. So we discussed concentration of ores briefly here. Definition is the process of separating gangue from the ores is called concentration of ores. There are various methods to do so. First method is separation based on gravitation. There are again two methods, Whiffley table method and hydraulic separation method. The next method of separation based on gravitation is magnetic separation method, froth flotation method, and leaching. The next step of metallurgy is extraction of metals. So extraction of metals takes place based on reactivity of the respective metals. So it is categorized as extraction of reactive metals, extraction of moderately reactive metals, and extraction of less reactive metals. And the last step of metallurgy or obtaining metal in the pure form is refining of metals. In this video, we are going to discuss various methods of concentration of ores. We start with the first method, which is based on the principle of gravitation, and the method is Whiffley table method. The principle here is that the heavy particles of ores can be easily separated from the light particles of gangue by the gravitational method. In the diagram, you can see the structure of the method where how the table is placed and how the ore is passed over it. Now we discuss the working. In this method of separation, the Whiffley table method is made by fixing narrow and thin wooden riffles on inclined surface. The table is kept vibrating continuously. Powdered ore obtained from lumps of the ore using ball mill is poured on the table, and a stream of water is also released from the upper side. The lighter gangue particles are carried away along with the flowing water, whereas the heavier particles, in which proportion of minerals is more and proportion of gangue is less, are blocked by the wooden riffles and get collected on the slits between them. So this is all about the Whiffley table method. The next method, again based on the principle of gravitational separation, is hydraulic separation method. Here the principle is, this method is based on the law of gravitation, wherein particles of the same size are separated by their weight with the help of water. Working is, there is a tapering vessel similar to that used in a grinding mill. The tapering vessel, which is tapering at the lower side, opens in a tank-like container. The tank has an outlet for water on the upper side and a water inlet on the lower side. finely ground ore is released in the tank. A forceful jet of water is introduced in the tank from the lower side. Gangue particles, being lighter, flow out along with the water jet from the outlet on the upper side. The heavy particles of the ore are collected at the bottom from the lower side of the tank. The next method of separation is magnetic separation method. The principle is the magnetic and non-magnetic ingredients in the ore can be separated depending on their magnetic nature. In the diagram, we can see the structure of the setup. Here we discuss the setup and working of the method. There are two iron rollers and a conveyor belt moving continuously around them. One of the rollers is electromagnetic while the other is non-magnetic. The conveyor belt moving around the rollers is made up of leather or brass. Two collector vessels are placed below the magnetic roller. The powdered ore is poured on the conveyor belt near the non-magnetic roller. Hence, as non-magnetic particles in the ore are not attracted towards the magnetic roller, they are carried further along the belt and collected in the collector vessel, which is placed away from the magnetic roller. Whereas the magnetic particles in the ore, they stick to the magnetic roller. Therefore, they fall in the collector vessel placed near the magnetic roller. Here the example is tin ore, which is cassiterite, mainly contains non-magnetic stannic oxide, that is SnO2, and magnetic ferrous tungstate, which is FeWO4. They are separated by this method. The next method is froth flotation method. The principle is the froth flotation method is based on the two opposite properties of particles, that is hydrophilic and hydrophobic. The metal sulfide particles have hydrophobic property, hence they get wetted mainly with oil. The gangue particles have hydrophilic property, hence they get wetted with water. Using these properties, certain ores are concentrated by froth flotation method. Here you can see the diagram showing the setup used. Now we are going to discuss the working of froth flotation method. The finely ground ore is put into a big tank containing ample amount of water. Certain vegetable oils such as pine oil, eucalyptus oil is added to the water for the formation of froth. Pressurized air is blown through the water. There is an agitator rotating around its axis in the center of the flotation tank. The agitator is used as per the requirement. Bubbles are formed due to the blown air. Due to agitation, a foam is formed from oil, water, and air bubbles together. This foam rises to the surface of water and floats. Hence, the method is called froth flotation process. Particles of certain sulfide ore float with the foam on water as they preferentially get wetted by the oil. Example, this method is used for the concentration of zinc blende and copper pyrite. The next method for concentration of ores is leaching. The principle is solubility and insolubility of ores and gangue respectively in a certain solution. The working is leaching is the first step in the extraction of metals like aluminium, gold, and silver from their ores. In this method, the ore is soaked in a certain solution for a long time. Due to specific chemical reaction, the ore gets dissolved in the water. However, the gangue does not react and therefore does not get dissolved in it. Thus, gangue can be separated from the ore. Example, concentration of bauxite, which is the aluminum ore, is done by leaching method. Here, bauxite is soaked in aqueous NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide, or aqueous Na2CO3. That is sodium carbonate, which dissolves the main ingredient alumina in it. With this, we come to the end of this video, which discussed metallurgy as well as concentration of ores. We'll meet in the next video to discuss the next part of the chapter. Till then, bye-bye.